Adam Schefter mentions that Ben Johnson to the Raiders may not be as sure of a thing as some people are letting on. The Chicago Bears also schedule more interviews and complete an interview to Mike McCarthy. We're going to talk about it all and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host, Terry Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today. So the Chicago Bears completed their interview to Mike McCarthy yesterday. Not very many details to come out of it, but we do know the Bears spent quite a bit of time with the Chicago Bears leadership group. This was only their second in-person interview. It was the team's overall 12th interview, though. Of course, he met with the normal people that have been doing these interviews: Ryan Poles, Kevin Warren, George McCaskey, Jeff King, and Liz Geist were all the ones in that interview when it comes down to it. And the Bears went about the business the way they've gone all about these interviews. We already know, we've talked about how Bears fans feel about Mike McCarthy, so we're not going to get into that again. We've actually kind of covered that in the last few interviews. So as of right now, so far the Bears have completed interviews with Mike McCarthy, Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, Ron Rivera, Pete Carroll, Mike Kafka, Anthony Weaver, Drew Petzing, David Shaw, Thomas Brown, and Arthur Smith. So that's where the Bears sit on the interviews that have been completed already. Now, I know that there have been a lot of questions asked about why the Chicago Bears seem to be moving so slow in this regard and on this situation, on this decision. You got to keep in mind the Rooney Rule does exist. Now, the Bears have not yet completed the necessary in-person interviews to satisfy the Rooney Rule. You know, they've done one. That's Ron Rivera so far. Thomas Brown does not count towards the Rooney Rule because he is an internal candidate when it comes down to it. So there's that. So the Bears haven't completed that yet. And then, like I've said many times before, they can't sit down in person with Ben Johnson yet. And there are a number of other candidates and teams that are going to be waiting on some teams to be eliminated from the playoffs. So the Bears are using this time to do a lot, right? And I think that's what the Bears are doing right now. They're using the time ahead of them. Of course, they brought in Mike McCarthy. They set him down. They flew him in. They had dinner with him afterwards. So they spent quite a bit of time with him. Ron Rivera's interview, there was no dinner afterwards, right? But how they handle this second round of interviews, as I've been saying, that's going to tell a lot of really how this team looks at things going forward. So we'll see what happens there. Listen, I look at it and I say this. The Bears are still trying to figure it out. They have a lot of time. If Ben Johnson is the guy, like a lot of Bears fans want him to be the guy that the Bears hire, there's a lot of time left between now and when the Bears can sit down with them in an interview. We're talking about legitimately. It could be another month before they can sit down, depending on how far the Lions make it. Now, we know, of course, some Bears fans are going to say, well, let's get the Detroit Lions up out of the playoffs, right? Let's hope that they get eliminated fast enough so that way the Chicago Bears can get an in-person interview with them. We can get this thing shored up. And I understand that point where a lot of people are coming from. Because, listen, I'm frustrated as well by how long this is taking, just in the sense that I just want to know who our next head coach is going to be, right? I just want to know who the next head coach is going to be so we can go forward. They can pick their staff. And then we can start, I can't even start my draft analysis yet, right? This is the time period around the time last year where I started bringing out my initial, hey, these are some prospects in the first or second round that the Bears can look at. I'm not even going to start the draft process yet until we know exactly who the head coach is. Because I think that it's going to be, now, I think that there are some positions that the Bears need to take care of one way or another. Offensive line, trenches, that needs to happen. And maybe I can start going over some of the best offensive linemen and stuff like that in the draft. But overall, I kind of want to know who that coach is. I would love to even know that. I'm not going to necessarily wait on the staff hires, but I would love to know who the staff's going to be as well. So we kind of know what we're expecting going forward. And then I kind of try to build my draft analysis based off the skill set and that the coaches worked with before in previous situations. So But overall, like, it's gonna be a while, y'all. I'm telling y'all, it's gonna be a while. Like I said, I more so than anyone for content purposes, not meaning that I can't wait to announce the head coach, but for content purposes, because I want to move on from talking about head coach. Right, I'm just going to be 100% honest with you. It's not exciting anymore to talk about head coaches. We've exhausted basically every angle that I can take on talking about prospective head coaches. At this point, Bears fans are going to have their thought process with their right to. They're going to have the people that they want to see, that they don't want to see. All that's going to happen. We know the strengths and weaknesses of all these coaches, right? At this point, it's just really looking at, hey, what's the rumor going on? What's the hot talk right now around, around whichever Bears candidate? Pick your choice, right? And so that's just what it comes down to. We talked about Mike Florio's comments in regards to the Bears may have to clean house in their front office if they really want a chance at Ben Johnson. It is what it is when it comes down to that. But Adam Schefter is also, cleared up some things. Like he said this. If he takes the Raiders job, he's now going to a division where the head coaches are Andy Reid, Sean Payton, and Jim Harbaugh. And the quarterbacks are now Patrick Mahomes, Bo Nix, and Justin Herbert. And you're going to a team that doesn't even have a quarterback, doesn't have a draft pick to go land a quarterback, has to find a way to somehow get a quarterback. So good luck with that. And I think that's a great perspective to have on this as well. Like, it depends on how much of a challenge Ben Johnson, like how much of the runway does Ben Johnson want cleared, right? You can have your GM choice over with the Raiders, but you have no quarterback. You may not be able to get your GM choice with the Chicago Bears, which I have my thought process on why a first-time head coach should not be trying to pick a GM anyway. But at least you have your quarterback, right? You got some weapons here. Yeah, we got to shore up the offensive line. You got some veterans on the defensive side of the ball. If you pick the right defensive coordinator, that's going to definitely be able to help jumpstart that. So, listen, the Bears have as attractive of a situation as any, right? It's up to them to sell the coaches. It's up to them to make sure that these coaches know that they're going to do what's needed to make sure that whoever comes in here, that they're going to be given everything that they need to be successful. That's the job of the front office. That's what this front office needs to sell on whoever's going to be the coach. And we'll see what's going to happen there. We'll see what's going to happen. That's just it. That's the end all be all. Like, all this arguing and back and forth, it just is what it is. It is what it is. So I think when it comes down to it, we just got to see what's going to happen, what the next steps are going to be, and we're just ready to move on and ready to be able to know who we have as our coach and move the fuck on. And so let's hope that the Bears find the right guy. Adam Schefter laying out that thought process, and we'll see what continues to go from there. That's it. Now, the Chicago Bears have continued to schedule more interviews. They do have an interview scheduled with Brian Flores on Saturday, who is a guy that I would love to have an opportunity to coach the Chicago Bears. Now, again, depending on what happens, I know people are like, but what he did with Tua and all this, like if you look at some of the things that have come out there and even how he's even talked about what he's learned from that. Looking at one situation from a head coach and just trying to say that people can't grow from it, I think is a dangerous rhetoric to have anyway. Brian Flores absolutely can, and I hope that he has grown from what he did learn, good and bad, with being with Miami. But Brian Flores does bring that leader of men quality. I don't know how he's going to pick his assistants or anything, but that's what the Bears' job is sit down and trying to figure out what's happening with him, right? So Brian Flores has his interview scheduled. They're going to get him in the building. They're going to see what's going on there. And that's cool. It's great. And that, I think I don't know if they're going to bring him in person yet or not yet. I haven't seen that. Todd Monken also has his interview scheduled for Friday, so he'll be getting in the building tomorrow. So the Bears are making their way through it. They're making their way through what needs to happen here. And over the time, that period, listen, they're going to make their decision. They're going to come up with it, and hopefully that it comes at the right pace. Like, the Bears are making their way through these interviews, and hopefully the information gathering period that they're in throughout these interviews helps them make the right and rational decision. And that's all at this point with the interview scheduled, all I can keep saying is the same thing. Hopefully that they make the right decision, they get the right guy, and they just listen, that they are using all the information that they're gathering in these interviews to get the job done. And that's just it. Like, I get it. There's a huge, huge red flag in the sense of, are they going to make the right decision? Do we trust polls to get this right? And I'll say this, you're right to say no to that. The answer to that should not necessarily be yes, but they got to prove it. And this is their opportunity to start getting it right. It's a huge thing with that. And so, I get it that the knock on McCarthy, the knock on some people from Ben Johnson, and when it's all said and done, they just got to figure it out. They just got to figure it out. And yeah, I mean, I think that's just the place that this Bears team is in. They're in a place right now where they're gathering information. And we won't completely know what this looks like on the other side of it until we get our head coach and they're actually coaching, they're implementing stuff. We at least get through training camp. But really, like I said before, I won't really know or have a feeling. I won't let myself get hyped over whoever the head coaching candidate is until it ends up turning into, we're getting wins on the football field. That's the most important thing. That's what this all comes down to. Regardless of any kind of thought process that anybody has, it comes down to, does it get the results on the football field? So while we have our favorites and all that, we won't know for sure until it's on the football field. It is what it is. Ian Cunningham has also completed his second interview with the Tennessee Titans for their open GM position. I do think that we'll have an answer sooner rather than later on what's going on with that team. And, if they do hire Ian Cunningham, the Bears get an extra third-round pick in this year and next year's draft. I mean, it's just as simple as that. Ryan Poles is going to have to find another running mate to be there and run that GM office with him. It is what it is, man. I listen. Hey, I don't know what the future of the holds for this football team. I just don't. But I hope that they're going to be able to get it right. I hope they're going to be able to make the right decision. And we'll just see what comes out of that. And hopefully we're able to talk about our Chicago Bears winning some football games, y'all. That's what this is all hopefully leading to, is the Bears winning football games. That's it. And let's hope that they can get it done. But you guys can let me know how you think and feel on everything down below. Make sure you're following the show at Shy Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. For everything Chicago Bears related. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.